5G is basically a very dangerous cocktail of different frequencies that are being put outside of our bedroom windows and penetrating all of nature, our bodies, and our homes. It does not belong on our planet or in space. And 6,000 satellites have been launched as of yesterday into outer space so that we can be microwaved from space. And the majority of the world is ignorant to this fact. We need to wake people up.
Why did the three of you get involved?
I got involved because the mayor of my little village informed us that we were going to be getting antennas and had a meeting to tell the whole village, unlike the town of Huntington, who, without our knowledge or consent, signed a contract with Crown Castle to install antennas all over the town, and there are hundreds at this moment and hundreds more coming. Our mayor told us they were coming, where they would be placed, and unlike the town of Huntington, gave us a voice to react to this news. That's why I became involved, because I heard the people in this little group, Citizens for 5G Awareness, talking about the harm that will be done. And that's why I joined, because it's blatantly unconstitutional to invade our homes with microwave radiation 24/7 every single day of the year. There have been no scientific studies showing that this is safe. None. Zero. And there have absolutely been no safety studies on 5G, only by the Army, which weaponizes it to inflict pain on the battlefield. How scary is that?
I got involved because I am very concerned about the children. We have children who have thinner skulls. Children are just growing. Children whose brains have more fluid in them than we do. We have a lot of children that we are hearing about that are sick now. And that's even without the massive 5G rollout. So I am concerned about the future of our children, the future of our country, the future of our safety, because I know that wireless is easier to hack.
I got involved in 1996 with the Telecommunications Act when they wanted to put the original cell devices up on buildings, churches, and I am by training an electrical engineer, worked for Underwriters Laboratories for 21 years. I have traveled the world to test products, commercial, industrial systems for safety, and this is not safe. You cannot deem something safe that has not been tested. And we do have the studies. There is the science, and that's a big misnomer that there's no science. There are thousands of studies that have been done to demonstrate that this is counter to biology and it will have devastating effects for our planet.
I have a question here that says, what is your reason? Did you sort of just give your reasons, or is that a different question?
I have a different reason too.
Okay, so what is your reason?
My reason for being so concerned about this, other than being radiated and other than the unconstitutional part, is because after my mastectomy, my doctor told me to not have electromagnetic frequency radiation in my home. And at that point, I took out the router, and you can get a little meter to test EMF in your home. And my house tests green, which is really good. But if there's a 4G, even a 4G antenna outside the homes of cancer survivors, there is no way to avoid it. Verizon and Sprint and the other telecoms have said It will come through any thickness of wall, any thickness at all. Don't worry, you will get that signal through everything. And that is a danger to all of cancer survivors.
Good, okay. Is 5G freedom?
5G is being touted as freedom. 5G is being touted as having the ability to do virtual reality. 5G is being touted as having cars that can drive themselves. So 5G is being touted by industry as real freedom for Americans. So what is freedom for Americans? The freedom for Americans is the freedom to choose. 5G does not give us a choice. We must have those antennas outside of our house. We must all be radiated. And the radiation is not just coming from those antennas, it's coming from the cars that are going to be wireless-driven cars that's going to be radiating their entire circumference. So is 5G freedom? What do you think, Anne?
Well, you know, what comes to mind is that expression, freedom is not free. And it isn't free. We are going to see untold health effects. Our freedom to sovereignty, to move about and not be tracked, to congregate with people and have our privacy protected. This technology is the antithesis of freedom, and it's Orwellian, frankly. There is nothing free, except for the radiation isn't even free, by the way, and it's going to, from an energy standpoint, take 10 times more energy than to run a fiber optic cable to a person's business or home where it is safe. So this is a lie that is being perpetrated, and our press, which is supposed to be independent and free, there's that word again, is not free. The New York Times is in partnership with Verizon. Amazon owns the Washington Post. Huffington Post is, I believe, owned by Verizon also. It's a total coercion between the press and the telecom companies to blanket our planet with unsafe radiation that is really could be an existential event.
Why don't Americans know about the dangers of 5G?
They don't know because the media, all media, is owned by the telecoms. All media, radio, TV, print media, and they have millions and millions of dollars to advertise this new technology and make it seem as though it's the best thing that could possibly happen. They never say anything about the drawbacks, ever.
Well, let's just clarify. We're not saying that every single media outlet is owned by the telecoms. But we do know that it's a $500 billion industry, and they have very long tentacles. Tentacles that you might think that the media is not influenced by them, but then if you look a little closer, you might see a little influence, a little money being exchanged here and there for something. So we're not saying that the entire world is owned by the telecoms, not in the least, and please don't interpret that as that. We'd like to say that, though, that we'd like to have industry out of our government. We'd like to have a government that has the freedom to do what it's supposed to do, which is to protect the public, and not act as an arm for industry. And we see that in many areas: pharmaceutical industry, telecom industry. I mean, this has happened forever in America. So Americans, it's now time for you to take back your country. It's time.
Now, I'd like to add to that that you have to follow the advertising dollars. There's a lot of money that newspapers and media rely upon to run their operations. And if you look at the primary outfits that are funding these advertisements, it is the telecoms, it's probably fossil fuels, and the third one would be the pharmaceutical industry.
Mhm.
And they have already said that 5G is going to be a $12 trillion.
Investment.
Follow the money.
Yeah.
And yes. We'd like to talk a little bit about about schools and children. Citizens for 5G Awareness was formed in order to bring awareness to the 5G issue. However, this issue is not singular. In other words, we do not have only one issue that we're trying to help with. So we have children now who are in their schools being exposed to industry-level Wi-Fi in classrooms where they have maybe 20 to 25 Chromebooks running at the same time. When you have one cell phone running, you can walk away from it. When you have 20 to 25 devices running at the same time, drawing on the energy from that industry-level Wi-Fi, those children are being radiated. And we are worried about the direction the schools are going. The schools are using Google Drives, and they're allowing marketing to come straight into this classroom. They may have good security for people who can't come in, but right into their homes, right into their classroom, they are being now data mined. And Anne, I'm sure, wants to add to that.
Well, I think we have an obligation to protect the children, not just the children, the babies in utero. We know, we have the science that we know that this is going to be detrimental to their development and their growth, to their brains, to their cognition, to be effective people in a democracy.
That's the last of the questions that I have.
Good.
I've got one more for you.
Yes.
To any
I'd
of
like to
those.
say something.
Sure, go ahead.
I think it's very important that the people who are concerning about climate change have to understand that this issue is singularly probably one of the most important issues with regard to the condition of our climate and all life on Earth. As I said before, it takes 10 times more energy, and they're going to have these antennas radiating every 8 to 10 houses. Where is this energy going to come from? And not just to radiate, but to store in the cloud the massive data that is going to be generated. The climate community is ignoring this very important issue.
Thank you, Anne. That's a very salient point, and it is unfortunately overlooked by the many young children and young teenagers who are worried about climate change. You are using your cell phones, you are using your devices right now, you are downloading and streaming. That requires a lot of energy. So we invite you to learn about this. We plead with you. If you are concerned about climate change, learn about 5G and learn about the repercussions thereof.
And perhaps even start your own group in your own community to talk to your own elected officials, who in turn can talk to their constituents and perhaps influence the federal government, which is where this all began.
I have another idea. The young people out there listening of age should consider running for Congress and take this issue on and the other issues that are impacting our planet.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
We need regime change.
Right.